Hello, and welcome back to another episode of me having very mixed feelings about the Foundation TV show. This is Foundation Season 1, Episode 3, 2-minute review. Or at least, me trying to fit all my thoughts into 2 minutes and failing. Spoiler alert ahead, because there's no way I can review this show going forward without talking about spoilers. Episode 3 was essentially split into 2 parts. The first part of Episode 3 was excellent. It was a very human story, focused solely on the emperors, the imperial dynasty of clones. It was thoughtful and introspective as we watched Brother Dusk age and become Brother Darkness and march inevitably towards his death while he's watching himself be born, and he's essentially becoming a husk of his former self, scrambling and trying to find meaning for his life, trying to leave his mark on the world. And it was sad because he's essentially forgotten within a generation. The mural that he painted was erased, and life moves on as the character was forced to confront his own mortality and aging and the inevitability of his own death. It forced me as a viewer to do the exact same thing. As I was watching him, I'm sitting there thinking like, oh my gosh, this is gonna be me someday. When we're young, we watch our grandparents go through this process, and then we watch our parents go through this process, and we realize that we have to go through this process, and then we essentially clone ourselves when we become parents, and we age, and we watch our kids grow, and we scramble to try to assign meaning to our lives, but ultimately, we're all forgotten. Kings and common men, there's no difference. We all become dust, and time moves on. Oof. I love this type of science fiction that is able to take sort of these abstract ideas of like cloning and then condense it down to like what it means to be human. And it was really well juxtaposed with Demerzel, who is essentially this quasi-immortal robot watching the person she cares for be born, grow, live, age, die over and over and over again. It was great. It was tragic. It was beautiful. The first part of this episode was awesome. It was everything I want in a science fiction show. And then the second part was not so good. Had the episode been short and just ended with the story of the emperors, I would have been satisfied as a viewer. But man, the second part of this episode just really missed the mark. Apparently, we're not getting any response or blowback to Raish killing Selden. We're moving on. But there's just no way that was the last we've seen of Gale. I'm really split on the character changes that have been made in this adaptation. I thought that Gal Dornick being made female actually worked really well. I thought it added a whole nother level of vulnerability to the character as this young woman is going out into the world, leaving her home planet, and essentially has to confront these domineering male characters. At first I had to take a step back and I was like, wait, was Gal Dornick a woman in the book? No, she wasn't, but it worked. I do not think the same can be said of Salvor Hardin. I do not care about the characters' races. I honestly don't remember the books explicitly stating that these people were white or black or Asian. And I also get that, these books were written in the 1940s. Even for someone as forward-thinking as Azimov was, objectively, there are very few female characters in the original book. I think it is justified to add more female characters to a modern adaptation. But for some reason, Gale Dornick works as a female and Salvor Hardin does not. And now that I think about it, it may not even be the fact that they made Salvor Hardin a woman. Really, it comes down to the fact that they totally miss the core elements of who this character is. It's jarring to have read the book and then watch the show and be like, oh, Salvor Hardin is a woman. It took me out of it for a while, but had they actually nailed the character fundamentals of who Salvor Hardin is, it wouldn't matter. Salvor Hardin in the show feels nothing like Salvor Hardin in the book. And Salvor Hardin was my favorite character, and I think he's the character you spend the most time with in the first book. So they really needed to get him right. In the show, Salvor Hardin is sort of like this outlier, this loner who doesn't feel like she belongs. There's something different about her. She sees the Anacreons coming and she's like, all right, we gotta go. We gotta fight. It's my job to defend you guys. Let's go. Guns blazing. But in the book, Salvor Hardin was very violence averse. He was famous for saying that violence is the last refuge of the incompetent. And he wasn't some loner or some outsider. He was very charismatic. He was very charming, a natural born leader. He was cunning. He was an expert politician. He could really zero in on other characters' motivations and manipulate them. He was someone who saw an opportunity, knew it was his job to lead, and seized the reins of the Foundation. The Salvor Hardin we get in the show is Salvor Hardin in name only. Anyways, I'm ranting now. I continue to have mixed feelings on the show. I'm going to continue watching the show. I don't know if I'm going to continue reviewing reviewing it weekly. Probably get back to just reading some other books. I'm currently rereading Dune because I am so excited for the movie. I hope to have a review on that soon, both the book and the movie when it comes out. I'd also like to review some more books of Babel in preparation for the fourth and final book coming out in November. I finished The Arm of the Sphinx, I finished The Hod King. Really enjoyed them both and want to talk about it. If only I had more time to read and make videos about science fiction and fantasy, and I didn't have to work 60 hours a week, that'd be awesome. Yeah, so stay tuned for more. I might be back with more Foundation stuff next week, I might not. But if you enjoy science fiction and fantasy, I invite you to subscribe to my channel, and I hope to see you back here soon.